out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello, good morning to you. And good morning. Good afternoon, good evening.
You want to say hello to our friend?
Oh my god, that mosquito. Yeah. Hello, mosquito.
I'm sure it'll chime in at some point.
Yeah. Or at least you'll hear us trying to get it. Just get it. Okay, Tim, we can't delay for this mosquito. You got it!
Yes! That's a dead mosquito now.
That's solid-sized mosquito, too.
Seriously, it's probably full of my blood.
Well, thank you, everyone, for encouraging us to take care of this mosquito problem, because we did. Tim, good job. Off to a good start.
Whew, got him.
If you don't know, this is Dismembering Horror. We're welcoming you to Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie,
Myself, Tim Aslin.
we watch and review a horror film every week that we haven't seen for a while, that we've been wanting to see, that we think would be fun to talk about, that you think would be fun for us to talk about. All of those things. All the while hoping that we discover the uncharted territory, undug gold and silver amongst the horror genre. Because it's fun, because we feel like it's a tackleable genre as far as going through all the top horror lists.
Yeah.
And we like to see, we're both filmmakers, so we like to take a critical stance, and we break it up into what worked, what did not work, and less critically, anything interesting or noteworthy surrounding the film or that we thought of the film, all that good stuff. And we watched a K-horror film.
Boy, did we.
For this week's episode, I always get excited for the A-horror, and this one was no exception, that I was excited for it.
No, good.
Today, if you're listening to this when it comes out, well, happy October 2019. Today's October 3rd.
Yeah, it is.
Our release day. And we actually have something exciting planned for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
We thought what we could do, and we thought it'd be a fun opportunity to tackle a series in whole. A curiosity. One that I think is just on that cusp of being well, I already said it, a curiosity. You know what I mean, Tim? Have you seen this pop up in circles? I've seen this series pop up in like Reddit and different worth revisiting lists.
I personally, not really.
Well, to not delay the mystery...
I might be a purist, and so I just stick to the original.
Yes. And we're talking about the Psycho movies, where I'd always been, as you said, a purist too. But there's something about where it was like, oh, I heard enough good things. And like Anthony Perkins, he is in all of them. And
amazing.
It's kind of interesting that like the second one is, like 23 years or whatever after the first one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So I don't know. It just got me as a curiosity. But then I watched them all last October, and was just struck absolutely by like how I don't know, like the character of Norman Bates, I just think is like, for me, maybe like my favorite like horror villain or protagonist. Like there's just something, I don't know.
Batesy.
There's something a lot going on with like just the whole syndrome he's suffering from that I think is endlessly fascinating.
Yeah.
And the movies are good and worth talking about.
I'm excited.
So how are we going to do it, Tim?
Oh, God. How are we going to do it? We're going to start with 2?
Yep.
And then go 3, 4. Wait.
Yep.
And then the first one?
Yeah.
Or are we doing the...
We decided to do the first one, Tim.
But isn't there another week in there? Oh, that's this week. Yeah, so starting next week. Right, because there are 4 more weeks in October.
Yeah.
So we'll hit the original on Halloween, so...
And that's something...
That seems exciting.
Yeah, it should be fun. That's mixing up our formula, too, where we kind of eschew the big horror films that have already been done to death, but we thought, what could we do special on our Halloween day, at least just to see how it goes for our, like, you know, second Halloween here, but first one, trying to do something special, see how it goes with, can we discover anything new, have anything new to offer, just have, I have
nothing new to
right
offer.
Is it, I know, that's what I'm thinking too.
Did it look good? Was it directed bad?
Yeah, so I think what we're gonna do is come up with we're gonna take all the common praise for it and just kind of get it out there up front as a starting point.
You know, I will say that we almost did we did a pretty fucking big classic horror film last Halloween.
What was last Halloween?
Ju-on.
That's true.
I mean, that's not... I wouldn't put Ju-on into, like, the, you know, sort of the... I don't think it's usually on, like, the top 10 lists that you see everywhere. But it's a pretty big fucking
It's on,
horror
like, top
movie.
30 lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just trying to crank it up.
Psycho's like, certainly top 10, yeah.
Yeah, right? So I think very quickly you could do the rundown on top 10s tends to be Exorcist, Psycho, Jaws, Alien, Texas Chainsaw,
Shining.
Halloween, Shining, Psycho. Did I say Psycho already?
I don't know.
Psycho, and maybe like another Hitchcock, and then maybe like The Thing. You know what I mean? So like those are all huge.
I'm distressed because that you even went there, because it's like we're missing something now.
Oh, of course, of course. But now, having said that, that is not my top 10.
Yeah,
that's just I think very commonly you see on the bigger lists. Those are the ones you end up at, and you're like, okay, fine.
Right. I know. It's talking about like top horror lists.
It's kind of absurd,
right? Well, it's funny because I just had the thought today, Tim, because like, you know, this movie that we haven't said the name of yet, but today's film, Death Bell, like I'm sure I got it off some top whatever horror list, top A horror right. Or just regular horror list, you know, top 100. We gotta have like we maybe it would be the people to do it, but I feel like we have to have a top horror list.
Wait, what?
A list of top horror lists.
Oh, of the lists. Yeah.
Because there's so many out there, and we've gotten stuff from them that we just haven't liked. You know?
Oh, I mean, totally. It's always amazing to me when you open a list and like, you know, the number 50 is something that I'm like, that should be in the top fucking 5.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or whatever. Or the opposite happens,
right?
Know?
This number 6 one, why is this even here at all?
Yeah,
but I kind of wonder also, like with these trends, where you and I mean, this was something our audience could be a better gauge of, but like where you and I land, kind of generally in our
gauge in the Pet Cemetery.
No, like gauge, as in let's gauge what kind of horror tastes we have.
Yeah.
As in like how we rank them generally against the rest of the community. I think like, are we more critical for like all the avoids and bad streamits we give? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. It's so hard to, I don't know.
Well, let's
talk about this movie.
Yeah, okay. We already said it.
I'll go on and on.
Yeah. All right. I said the title once. I'll say it again to lead into the trailer here. Death Bell.
시험이다.
지금부터 여러분들을 대상으로 중간고사를 다시 보겠습니다. 문제를 풀지 못하면 한 명씩 죽게 됩니다.
So, Tim, based on our rating system of avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it, would you avoid, stream, rent, or buy Death Bell? Would you tell yourself to do one of those things?
Up until watching the trailer, I was pretty solidly going to say avoid. Because I just spent most of the movie being like, what the fuck? In a bunch of different ways. And that's never good.
Yeah.
But I feel... Oh, wait. If I'm telling myself this, right? I would avoid it.
Yeah.
I'd go watch Mother. Not the isn't Mother Korean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd watch that instead. Like if I want like a mystery to solve kind of thing.
I feel like even within the like high school horror, there's other ones.
There must be. So sorry, Death Bell.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. You didn't do it for me.
But the trail. What were you about to say though? The trailer.
The trailer made me go, "Oh man, there are some really good shots in this, and like there's some like there is good acting in it,
Yeah.
and there's kind of good ideas here and there."
I think I have to completely agree with you, Tim. Where I kept wanting to say stream it, after we watched it, but then I was sort of thinking about it even more. It was like, I would actually probably just tell myself to avoid it. Like I might
What
tell.
a bummer.
I know. I'd want to tell one to stream it,
Right.
because like if I haven't seen it, I would probably stream it because you look at the poster and go, oh, I don't care what anyone says. I want to see that. And well, now that I would have told myself, okay, well, just watch other ones first.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Why, Tim? Why? Well, that's what we're going to figure out.
We can find out.
Okay, but before we really dig into what worked and then what didn't work, the bulk of our show, we got to see what we made out of it by hearing our summary. How would Tim and what did our brains do to try to make sense of this all?
Okay. There's a private school. It's a bunch of private school. Oh,
is it a private school? No, this is how public.
Is it? Okay, fucking. What do I know? Here's what I do know. The real horror of this movie is math.
Yep.
It seems like the first scene made me feel like this whole movie is just going to be like, what do you call that? Not an analogy, like a metaphor, I guess. Like a metaphor for like how oppressive and like intense the school can be. Yeah,
which would have been great through the Korean lens too.
Exactly. And like, math was sort of what I went to. I think maybe either because of the visuals or because I felt that way about math at times.
Yeah.
But anyway, what are we talking about? The summary. School. High school. High school? Yeah, high school.
So there's a big midterm exam that all Korean students have to take called the gosa. That just means like it's a challenging something that's, I guess, a countrywide examination. So for some reason they get I didn't quite follow, but they put together their best of their best students.
Right.
Like maybe just because it's ranking by high school or something. Despite having just finished other tests, they have to get together the best of the best, the top 20 students. There's this whole ranking thing.
Right.
And they get together over the weekend to solve a test that is not the killer's test.
See, that was lost on me. I didn't know what them getting together in like the elite class was for. I thought it was to like compete against another class or something from another school, but I did not follow that. Okay, so, but it's kind of irrelevant in the broader context. Well, it's not. It does end up coming back around, but shit. So the story is we're in high school, a classmate disappears, and then over the PA and AV like system, a video of that, or a feed of that person in a water tank with a math problem scrolled on it.
And then so
appears.
now it's just this class and 2 teachers and a security guard who are present.
Because it's the weekend and they're the ones there.
And so once the first captured student, when it's revealed and there's the feed of her, the students and the teachers proceed to not do anything about it and panic. And then it leads to I guess what the movie is, to try to just put it in as summary terms as possible, is they kind of like meander around different parts of the high school where we kind of get a sort of non-consequential like series of further deaths.
Yeah, they
traps.
make it really, really easy for other people to get picked off.
Yeah.
And
we never quite have a sense of like when they're solving any problem, if there's a timer going on, or
not at all.
When is the next one? What location do they have to get to the next one?
They never even get to a place where they might be almost solving something before somebody dies.
Right.
I guess maybe that one there is the auditorium sort of scene.
Right.
Where
but even
it seems like it's a reach, but there's an actual attainable goal.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Right. Put these, solve this word problem.
But it's not consistent, that's for sure.
So then they just keep doing that. They kind of get split up. Nothing much happens. And then also, meanwhile, there may or may not be ghosts.
That's right. And then mysteriously and suddenly people start to say, oh, it's definitely this girl who killed herself doing all of this.
Oh, right. And she could be the ghost.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it turns out to be the teacher who we were with all along, who I only got from the Wikipedia, not the film. That
you mean the male Korean Dr. Brookenwald?
Yeah. Who's Dr. Brookenwald?
I mean, from Jennifer and her insects. Remember the spaz out teacher is the bad guy?
No.
Brunhilde, whatever her name was. Remember
in Young Frankenstein?
No. In Phenomena.
Oh.
What was her name? Frau
Bruckner.
Yeah, that one.
Great. To reference a previous episode. Wait, what about her? What were you saying? Sorry.
Like, it's the same sort of thing of like, oh, it's the teacher all along.
Oh, right.
It's the bad guy.
But it's the teacher...
But sort of, yeah.
Who's, according to Wikipedia, it was like... Didn't get this in the sort of big reveal flashback, but he was trying to cover up that he helped the students cheat to do better on an exam. And then once this student threatened to expose him, he killed her.
Right.
And so then the bad guy is also someone... Okay, then the actual bad guy...
The perpetrators of this, this whole event of like kidnapping people and having them solve a problem that doesn't actually save
the
anybody
parents
are the parents of the girl that the teacher murdered.
Right. So there's a bunch of twists.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Reveals.
And the dad is the security guard at the school.
Yeah.
And the mom has been living in the like rafters or some shit.
Yeah. And she's the crazy, like, hermity, ghosty looking one running around doing things.
And I guess that's why people think that the ghost is the daughter, because the mom looks kind of like her. I don't know.
No, people think it's the ghost because we have if we have a main character, we have, like, these 2 girls who are kind of the main girls, and one of them has been having, like, visions of these ghostly figures.
Yeah.
And
there's also the other dude who witnessed the murder who's having visions too. It's a fucking mess.
Right. Yeah, because right. So there's this other boy student who's like freaking out over everything and attacking people because he's been seeing the ghost of the dead girl since then. But it's like whether that's real or whatever... I guess
that only came along because of the stress of making it into this class or whatever, and then suddenly his guilt over seeing this thing and not saying anything comes out, and it just happens to be at the exact same time as the parents are putting into place this scheme to kill people to prove a point.
Sure.
It's a lot.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Yep.
And
that's the summary.
Let's go with our next section now. Let's see what we have to say worked about Death Bell.
Okay.
All right, what worked?
What worked? What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
I mean, were you about to say something?
Just sighing.
Okay. I gotta say, from the get-go, I got kind of pumped with the over-the-top style and like the intense music. It was like that kind of coming off the 90s music video intensity, but it was the kind of which it was over the top and then some. It was like over the tippy top that I like, where it sort of, had a clear style it was doing. So
it reminded me stylistically a little bit of Mom and Dad.
Yeah, like Mom and Dad, or I actually thought with the sort of lo-fi-ness more quality, it was kind of somewhere between Mom and Dad and 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked all that.
Yeah, I did too. It's everything I liked about this basically has a caveat though.
Yeah.
Which is annoying.
The music kept it super intense too.
Yeah.
And that's what helped me be like, okay, this movie is just hopefully going off the rails. If this is the opening scene of like this crazy ghost nightmare flashback thing with this super intense music and cutting, then great. We're only going to go up from here. So
you'd think.
Whether we did or not, at least I kind of overall liked that direction.
By and large, I liked all the characters and the acting.
Yeah, me too.
I was
cast
pleasantly surprised, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It was like if you're watching any scene out of context, you would kind of go, oh, cool. Here are characters that, it's like look at any scene. This movie is a good example of a movie where it's like you look at just see the trailer, just look at a scene, read a description, look at the premise, and you go, oh, great. The movie you imagine that you conjure is going to be a movie that this isn't, so you're only going to be disappointed. But yeah, in itself, like each scene to scene, I was like into the cast and the performances. Yeah.
There are a handful of, like I said at the top, like camera moves and just sort of vibe shots that are good. Like they're cool. And they feel horror-y and they feel like eerie or cool or intense or whatever. And I was into that when it happened, but it's, again, the caveat being that there's a caveat to like everything that we'll talk about in the next section.
Well, I guess the traps or devices.
That's what I was going to say. Did you like any of that?
Yeah, like in themselves, like the first one.
I love a riddle.
Yeah.
We didn't really get a riddle, but like I love that the construct of like you got to solve this thing.
Right.
And before the thing happens.
Yeah.
Caveat.
No, exactly. But in themselves, I liked the ones I can only remember. There's the first one that was the water tank, which I thought was like a great visual of that's
kind of what I'm talking about. Like those visuals are really good.
Right. A student surrounded by, stupid math problems. Sorry.
Right.
That was very biased sounding.
Well, you're not a fan of math?
Not at math. I am in theory, but not in being forced to take tests on it and learn it. But I think it's cool. Yeah. But just something about that, especially like the association that we have, not, with just test taking being everything here, but the culture that surrounds it in Korea, Japan, you know,
Yeah.
to have she's literally drowning in a problem, you know.
Yeah.
That was fun.
The next one is the guy getting dropped from the ceiling.
Which is also the same as the wax candles person? I
Yes.
forget. Okay. So
that's right. That's right. So he's been carved with the answer to the riddle, I guess, if you want to call it a riddle.
Oh, right, because once the answers to the individual riddles are also supposed to be literal answers to the mystery of what's happening.
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, no, but I thought that was cool. Like the person being tortured by wax candles, like to an excessive amount. And then it was great when he fell from the gymnasium ceiling. It was this kind of a satisfying plop where it was like, oh, his presence is, they're actually in the same space, you know, and that sort of fun, didn't see it coming way.
And they're close to figuring it out. Mm-hmm. You know, like that one feels the most attainable. Yeah. Because it's actually literally laid out in front of them to like, here's what you have to do. The tank one, I didn't understand what the here's what you have to do part was. So take that for what it's worth. But this one, I was like, okay, cool. I can get on board with this.
And also felt just kind of direct in its, okay, maybe now we're falling into the actual rhythm of the movie here, where, okay, so the killer, the jigsaw guy, whoever it is, he's in control now. They're being told to go to this location. Here is a game clearly presented to them, like you're saying.
Yeah, and that stuff, if it's done well, is I love that stuff in movies. Yeah. Like even just watching people like rack their brains in panic to solve something is exciting.
And I'd say as sort of what worked, like everything up until that body fall, the movie was working for me more than it wasn't. Like I had my questions and stuff, but just as far as
early, it's like you really don't know yet.
Right, but just as far as sheer, you know, just being tickled and entertained and into it enough. Stream it, you know.
Sure.
But then after that, it just went, what we'll get into for our next section.
But then there's like the girl who gets put in the dryer or the washing machine.
Oh, that was a good one.
I like that as a concept.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Seeing the water turn bloody.
It makes me uncomfortable.
That one was like, you know, effectively cringy, exactly like what you'd want.
And then there's the main girl's best friend who gets kind of ankle tied, like and hung from the ceiling.
Oh, right.
That's a gnarly one.
And it's kind of like we were trying to remember it in a previous episode. I remember it now. Rube Goldberg.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I did look it up late after we were talking about it. Yes, Rube.
But that was kind of funny
Goldberg.
where you were like, this is kind of involved because that one with the girl hanging upside down, the friend, it was like gasoline was being poured and you had like a mini drone lifting off to lift a candle or something.
A candle on a string and a drone I was like, holy fuck, dude. We really we've crossed over into just boredom. Somebody was super bored and it's like, how many things can I put in place to make this happen?
For more of the movie too. But it was fun for that one. And I think that was kind of it. You reminded me of the washing machine one, but the dryer.
Yeah, and then there's another death there's two other deaths that are not a part of the game, so to speak, but are just sort of a result of people panicking. The first is the teacher, Mr. Lee, who, you know, the killer has explicitly said, if you leave, you'll get killed. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Lee's like, well, fuck that, and he tries to leave, and then we find him trying to get back into the school with his throat slit.
Yeah.
And he dies. And the second one is the handsome kid getting stabbed by the crazy kid from who had been seeing visions, who we find out was the witness to the murder.
Right.
But that scene, that's just a straight up like he stabs him in the stomach and that's kind of it, and there's nothing to it.
A specific thing I liked in it that worked for me. Again, I think in that first setup chunk was there was a class motto that was labeled as such on the wall That was like one of the few things on it that I think said something like no repeat exams.
Oh yeah.
Where it just
Yeah,
sort
I
of
remember
like
that.
as a, I don't know, just something as far as like when it's setting up, again, it's going to be a movie. It's not of putting in these kind of metaphorical ideas of tests in a negative sense and like
Yeah.
thinking of it in life terms, you know, you don't get any second chances kind of
That's right.
kind of implication.
Yeah.
But this said, you know, it's just said so definitively and as like a marching order, like real inspirational, right?
Right. It's the antithesis of the cat hanging from like a clothesline, and the poster says "Hang in there."
Right. Don't screw up at all.
What else worked for you though?
The I liked the final kind of set piece aspects of it, of you have the killer saying someone in this room is the one who killed our daughter. You'll all live if they've come forward. Just
Right.
That was fun.
That I guess the finale is
Yeah.
the only thing that I really like about the movie.
What you mean that as the finale?
The kind of the overall like reveal, and then that moment of the like, you know, you have to come forward, and then the sort of the reaction of the teacher and how that all kind of plays out.
Right.
That whole sequence, I was like, oh, this is a movie.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I also, really like, kind of like you just said, is the teacher who then is revealed is the killer, Chang Wook. Just him seeing go crazy.
Yeah.
Like after we've seen him kind of be this authority figure the whole time, just lose it.
And make like a bunch of questionable decisions that you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. But there was a lot of, oh, now I get it in that last 15 minutes.
Right. Even if there's still like 35% where I was going, okay, but hey, hold on.
Yeah.
But all the stuff concerning him, that was fun.
Yeah. That's, I hate to say it, but that's kind of it for me.
Me too.
It just was, I mean, we both said avoid, so
Yeah.
shocker, we don't have a lot to say.
I mean, again, maybe, you know, I already said the aesthetic of the filmmaking itself, but like, if I was going to watch this exact same movie that was American made, I'd rather watch it with the Koreans, and because it's more like fascinating for me. And I like that whole aesthetic and vibe to of a horror in general. So,
Well, and I think it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work as an American film.
I'm just saying that by default is always like a what worked for me.
Oh,
just the
I
fact
see.
that it's like Asian horror, you know,
it in
I'm
of
into
itself, is more appealing, right?
But like, it almost was like enough to say stream it, but talking to myself, not quite.
yeah,
So, Letty, should we get into that then?
yeah.
All right. What did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
Can I just say, as sort of, I just want to give an example that felt to me like kind of it was indicative of the entire problem with the movie.
Yeah, please.
The sequence, I'm not even sure I can explain this well. Okay, there's a sequence when the two teachers, the male and female teacher, and then the handsome kid and the lead girl, and I think that's it. It's just the four of them. They kind of have split off, and they're like, "We're gonna figure this out," and they seem to think that they've come to realize that the PA, they go to the PA room, and they're like, well, if it's coming through this, the feed has to be coming from somewhere inside the school. And they start grabbing wires and pulling on them, and see that it's, you know, there's a conduit cable that they pull out of the wall and they're like, this cable goes down there. So they go downstairs and they see it and it splits off and they're like, it must go this way. And they start like literally just walking along and pulling it out of the ground and following it along like they're going to get somewhere. That all gets interrupted by the kid has seen hallucinations or whatever, the witness.
Right, they're like under the floorboards.
And they're like under the school.
Yeah.
And he's been hiding under there and he interrupts this journey that they're on. The journey makes no fucking sense. Right? Because it's like the logic is the signal is coming from inside here. So let's pull on these cords to see where it leads.
Uh-huh.
But like, how would that... it's like a non... And they prove this because they just get interrupted and then never try to follow the conduit cable again. It's just like a bad device that goes nowhere to get you to this other thing. Mm-hmm. And like sometimes that can be fine. But even in this, it's like when we look at the cable coming down from the wall and it splits into two directions and they just go, God, it must be this way. It's just like there's so little sort of like actual logic to the sequence. There's like this very surface level logic. There are cables. The killer might be at the end of them. But it just falls apart.
As you say, if that's an example of the overall problem or the main overarching problem, I described as that problem is there's no graspable trajectory.
Yes, that is how yes, you're right. That's exactly what I'm getting at. It's just like a thing that they like every scene feels like them kind of just staring at a thing.
Yeah.
And being like, what do we do?
And then
it's like
half
the
the
guy
time
literally said, you need to do something to solve this, and they just sort of argue with each other about what to do.
And he's
it's
also
like,
the voice
solve the fucking problem.
The voice is also saying like, don't mess around or I'll kill you. And they're like, hey, how about 10 of us just go off to sneak to the bathroom and then like lock ourselves in the dorm. And then meanwhile, then you also have like the ones in charge saying, okay, well, let's split up again because half of you there and half of us here. Oh, and then where did this person go? And you're just like, what are you doing?
People are getting snatched up and killed.
Right.
And everybody is like both freaked out and weirdly casual about it.
Right. And they never once say, oh, when is the next test happening? Oh, I'm so glad we made it out of that one, or that sucks we didn't make it out of this one. When is the next one going to be? Like,
there's a girl sitting and listening to an iPad or whatever. She's got earphones in. She's listening to music just casually while this shit's going on. And then she gets kidnapped. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
I was going to be a thing of note. Actually, my favorite review on Letterboxd that I saw was just shout out to the 16-year-old girl listening to music on her Barbie iPod when a killer is on the loose.
Okay, there you go. Like, it's just like, what? And so, I don't know. Is it a stylistics or culturally sort of stylistic thing of just disjointedness where it's not really about overall, there is a story and there is an actual point.
Yeah.
But the behavior and the trajectory of each scene is so disconnected and convoluted all the time. Like, there are so many cuts to somebody that last, like, it's incomplete. Mm-hmm. Like, we get just enough to have them, like, say one thing, and then we cut to something else completely unrelated. And so it's like, I need to know more about what what we just saw in that 10 seconds.
I've said this as
why are we jumping around so fucking much? Is that part of the style of like just make it crazy?
I don't know. It just feels like I've said this before about things that we haven't reviewed kindly, where it just feels like it's a movie that never actually starts, or you're waiting for it to start the whole time. Is kind of the sort of non-momentum it has.
I wish I could describe that, like what that is better.
Well, like
But I can't.
to use more examples is kind of, I think, a helpful way to get at. So like we already mentioned, I think in the overview, the first scene of the first death scene of the girl in the water trap, where it's like, seriously, why were they not paying more attention to her? You like
Mr. Lee comes in and tries to like slap the handsome kid over and over again for like 5 minutes. They're just yelling at each other about the thing that the kid had done the other day when he put music over the PA.
Right, and then
meanwhile, this girl is fucking drowning behind you.
And it's like,
what are we doing?
You think, right, is the freak out response to actually just be literally freaking out with no, like, someone would say, let's help her. You know, but that doesn't happen.
Someone would say, hey, assholes, shut the fuck up and let's figure out what to do about this.
Right. Like, the reaction made sense up until once water actually started filling it. That's when you expect them to go, uh-oh, there's something clock here.
More serious to attend to.
Like, you think maybe that moment's gonna kick in. It's so frustrating, but then she just already is dead. And you're like, what are
somebody
you doing?
screams and then you're like, oh, well, that's it? Okay.
Well, okay, so not only, so this is a good example for the whole film too, because not only did that just feel bad and not make sense and was off-putting, but also felt bad in the sense like this movie's pitched to you as this kind of, you know, Saw set high school, you know, battle royale. We don't know exactly. Like the premise just sounded cool, where it's like, students get quiz answers wrong and face deadly consequences.
Right.
So it's you're expecting some kind of setup into the world of how these games work, how they're going to play out, what kind of, you know, questions they're going to be answering. And it just kind of leaves you with nothing to hang your hat on, or it just feels like it's not giving you any direction as far as what's still a mystery and what are we learning about this.
I just had a realization.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why this movie doesn't work for me. Who's the main character?
Right, there is none.
Who is an actionable character?
I mean, you could say the main girls seem actionable because they're like, they want to live.
But do they ever do anything?
There's the attempt, I don't think it was them, but there's the attempt where the students go like, we're going to do something by saving ourselves to lock ourselves in the dorm.
But that's not, they're an offshoot group. We don't know any of them.
It could be argued Chan-wook is the one who, even though we don't know it, is actively hiding that he murdered the girl the whole movie.
So I would say he's sort of the hidden antagonist.
Yeah.
And that's I love that character. Great. But the who we see the movie through, the eyes of whom we see the movie through, doesn't,
no one.
If it's the main girl, she never does anything that actually pushes either her own story or the larger story forward.
It does feel like it's the episode 1 Phantom Menace problem.
Yes, it is. You're right. It's such a huge problem because there's the slimmest of connection between her and the dead girl.
Yeah.
Right? And so I can imagine if you really worked on the motivation of the killers and who is at the mercy of that and the point that they're trying to drive home. If there's a connection to her in the construct of these quiz death things, and it's sort of like aiming at her, or she believes that it's aiming at her, which was probably even better. Like the misdirect that she thinks that, why is this happening to me kind of thing? Why are my friends being picked off? If we get on board with that overall idea,
some sort of, they each have their own central question. That's our
Right.
question.
then when the reveal that it's this the other bad guy exists, we have somebody to bounce that reveal off of. That it matters. So she and that guy should have some sort of fucking relationship too, whatever that is. But we should see a rapport between them that can either be, eroded through the movie leading up to the reveal, or strengthened through the movie leading up to the reveal that he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
None of that exists. So there's no, like, at the end of the day, when we go, oh, okay, so the reason the janitor and his wife are doing this is because they are trying to find out who killed their daughter. We don't care, because we haven't asked that question through the eyes of anybody else in the movie.
Right.
Up till that point.
It plays out as if it's just supposed to be this is a mystery being answered.
Right. I don't give a fuck unless I know that there's a mystery.
Yeah.
You can't just tell me it's mysterious and then not fucking give me any clues as to why.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
Right. Actually, it's a really good way to put it. There was no mystery to the mystery.
Yeah, because they didn't tell us anything. And nobody is going, hey, actually, I have a thought. Maybe it's this. Like, they kind of almost do that where the girl is like, oh, all of this has to do something to do with this girl who who killed herself last year. How did she even fucking come up with that? Like, there's no, like, connection to why. It's just the writer is just like, well, we need to get on board with the fact that it's this other girl.
Well, I could see them.
I don't know how we got there.
Right. The filmmakers, as well as maybe more forgiving audience members, I could see, just because I think they did a pretty okay job just balancing lots of characters and not having a protagonist. Like, I don't think, like, kind of what you honed in on, it's not that there's no protagonist, it's just about that each of these different people don't really have, we need them as an amalgam, sort of filling in what the protagonist does.
Yeah.
But this was just like the whole time, no, what are you doing? What's going on?
I think, like in a lot of the other ones we've seen that have this kind of like, somebody was wronged and now we're going to spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out why this bad thing is happening and like how it's connected to the thing, like to the wrongdoing. You get the wrongdoing in the opening scene.
Yeah.
You get, like, we should see I'm not saying we should, but in those versions, we see the fucking murder.
Mm-hmm.
And we're left to wonder who did that.
Like Deep Red, yeah.
Right. We get at least something to know, okay, there was a sin, and here's the consequence of the sin, but it's vague enough that we have to fill in the blanks as we go along. And usually you do that through another fucking character who's on board with the point of view that we have.
But instead, the movie just decides to go this angle of an opening that says they're ghosts too, kind of.
Right.
So there's that whole thing going on too, Tim.
Honestly, that makes me just want to be like, fuck you. Don't fuck.
It's so muddled. Like, why do they have the ghost thing at all, Tim?
Because it's like, oh, it's a scary movie. Let's misdirect them completely. I put really big air quotes around that.
Yeah.
And introduced ghosts.
Because, just for the moments where it's like the one student's looking at the other student and their face starts to turn, like the pale white ghost and look all creepy. And then there's a kind of jump scare or stinger associated with it. And you just expect it all just to sort of culminate in this mystery that it kind of... Maybe it technically does. The answers are there, but...
I could get on board with kind of what I thought might have been trying to do, but in hindsight, I think not at all. But like, you have this mom character who has been like fucking hiding in the rafters or wherever the fuck she's been. She's living in the school.
Yeah.
Like some above the gym or something. If you have that character and it's the mom of the girl who was killed, they're gonna look alike. Make them look alike. Mm-hmm. And then have her... She's living in squalor inside like the roof of a school. Have people see her and think that there's a ghost of the girl who died in the school.
Instead, it's like on top of having ghosts, jigsaw murderer at large, and those just sort of being the horror things we're fighting against or afraid of, you also have the crazed feral woman, creepy woman, just that happens to be happening too, who's the mom you're describing. It's like they're just sort of trying to shove all this stuff in there, you know.
Like, tie it together for me, please. Somehow. I could see a really cool fucking movie in here, right? Like, I want to see the movie where the obsession of the dad to get back at this killer is the construct of the problems, you know, the riddles or quiz, you know, issues. Because he has a goal. He's trying to solve who the fuck killed his daughter. But he's also having to deal with his feral wife who has completely lost her mind.
We don't know about any of this till the end.
Correct. So I want to see the movie where the wife is the source of the students thinking that the school is haunted. Mm-hmm. And the reveal is that the husband, it's a problem for him that his wife keeps fucking getting loose.
See, but Tim, then that wouldn't work because then you couldn't have the scene of the boy in the classroom seeing a face on his test.
That pissed me off. Don't stop giving these like fucking hallucination things. Like,
yeah,
it means nothing. Also, how the fuck did he get under the school?
Right.
Did he escape from the fucking hospital?
I don't know. So
why is he even under there?
So yeah, like when
he's literally under there just so he can stop them from following the cable to go nowhere.
Right. And because it's a creepy image just to have like the crazed kid in the sort of lower dirt beneath a school area.
Yeah, having a flip out.
So you also had...
Why'd he kill the guy anyway? What the fuck?
Right. Yeah, because he's gone crazy since witnessing this murder, seeing ghosts.
Because
why do you have multiple people seeing ghosts? You have the girl.
I know.
You have the one that's crazed killing people we just mentioned, and then you have other kids as well, like who are seeing ghosts.
Also, the main bad guy, the teacher who ends up being the bad guy at one point, they kind of actually do what I'm talking about, where he gets attacked by the mom.
Yeah.
But that's before it's revealed that he's the killer. So the fucking mom just was like going rogue and like attacking people?
Right.
Like, what is going on?
But right. Like, are they all are going through a specific kind of stress related to this deaths, even though their awareness of what happened is varying, because you have the one who's witnessed the murder. You have all of them seeing ghosts that are the same ghosts.
Dude, there's so many problems. So also, if, dude, god damn it.
Okay, how about...
Listen, wait, no, this is important. If they don't know who the killer is, why did they pick this weekend to go after it when only the elite class is there? It could be anybody in the entire school if they don't know who the killer is.
Wait, so maybe it was their elaborate plan where it doesn't, as long as we kill a handful of students, then they'll later hold a memorial where the whole faculty will be there. Because
I mean, actually, that's kind of smart because it's easier to get away with doing this with a few people there.
That's how it plays out.
That's right.
It's
okay.
like, if this all started from these parents, after having their daughter killed, saying, well, what's the only way we can get all the faculty and students together? And they probably say, well, to have a memorial.
I have another idea. Here's how you do it. Do you take the fucking videotape of your daughter getting killed to the police and say, hey, can you go find whoever at this school has that keychain?
Right. It's a pretty good clue to go off of.
Holy shit.
We know it's a male, like...
Oh my God.
So, okay. So I feel like we've talked about
this. They should know who it is.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, that they know it's him and they're fucking doing this to make him like crazy.
Right.
That's a better film. And then the shame,
right.
Like you could still have the memorial scene because it's making him out himself, and the shame of that, but I felt like is the punishment.
That was another confusing thing where I was almost kind of reading it as if they did know who he was and this was all to get him to confess.
Right.
That's other confusing, like maybe it was that. Okay, so this is another example of like what's going on here to try to then zoom out yet again. So when the moment where the one teacher escapes and we're told like if you escape you're gonna get killed.
Right.
He gets slashed up. Like so I'm thinking like, okay, so is this like, you know, the Jigsaw guy who's in super control and no matter how many students escape, there's something that's already preordained,
right.
That's, you know, thought of, you know, where they're 3 steps ahead at any given point. But then there are the ghosts too. So I'm like, well, okay, but is this all somehow like, are the ghosts working with this killer somehow? Like
yeah.
What exactly is happening? But it was just an example of where rather in horror, like you don't want, it's just interesting to break out the difference between like in good horror and bad horror, you have the instances where you say, oh, I don't know the answer. And that's a good thing in good horror. It's a bad thing in bad. So I'm just trying to use this as an example of how to distinguish the difference here of like why that unknown of how the killer is working didn't work in that moment. Yet in other movies, like, you know, it's a good kind of mystery.
It's missing pieces to get us to kind of either feel like the sense of holy shit, we're fucked, or the sense of misdirect to, you know, cause, you know, when you put a bunch of people into a situation where, you know, life or death situation, like a group, what generally is more interesting is the group dynamic of holy fuck, how do we deal with it? And seeing the different personalities sort of like cause problems with each other or like try to go do stuff or whatever. So like Mr. Lee leaving and getting killed, when he comes back, the first thing you would want to know is like, who the fuck did this to you? And he points in that scene, right? Like, fuck with the audience. Have him pointing at somebody who we later find out is not involved, but that leads the group dynamic to go after that person.
Yeah.
Or have him point at the teacher who killed the girl.
Right.
But over that teacher's shoulder is actually the security guard.
Right, like a scene.
And so we get misled in this moment of like, who's the bad guy? How did this happen? And how fucked are we?
You're making it just sound like, so in movies, when going from scene to scene, things should have consequences.
Oh, yeah. You know, that'd be nice. I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there was a question, really.
No, it was like, when is it good and when is it bad as far as not knowing things.
When there's connectivity.
Yeah.
And even if that connectivity is misdirected, that's important. It's purposeful. That's when.
It's kind of like, it's a strategic, I think, about being given what information has the audience been given.
Yeah.
And do we think that the sort of the gap filled in trying to make assumptions as to what it is, what are those? And are they appropriately inexplicable, eerie, like, you know,
right?
The brain forcing you to go, oh, this is a ghost in a creepy way.
It's, again, to me, an example of writing for the idea and not writing for the entire story.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, you know what would be cool is if a girl ended up in a washing machine. Great. How do we get there? Don't worry about it. Just put it in.
Yep.
You know, like, that shit drives me nuts. Oh, you know what'd be cool? Dropping him from the ceiling.
Sounds like we're talking about it too.
Oh, shade.
I
haven't seen it.
But it really is just like, okay, what are the scenes we need? Okay, we need a spooky clown scene here, 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 and here.
Ugh.
All right, now let's figure out the rest.
Ugh. I mean, they have a template to go off of, for fuck's sake, like a really good book, and they couldn't do it.
Sorry, yeah.
I didn't see it, so I'm speaking out of turn.
The ending too, like, not only were just some of the like big reveals where I was just like, what is exactly happening? But like, I was also confounded specifically with, so you have Chang Wook turns out to be the guy, the teacher all along who killed the girl, and you have the other bad guys, the parents,
right,
being like, okay, we just want the perpetrator to admit that they're the ones. So then right after that, you have Chang Wook starts like, I just imagine him like holding a chair. I know he's not, but he's like fighting everyone off. So clearly he's done it, yet he's not actually admitting guilt. Like, I was just really confused. Like, so
he says in that moment, he's like, I'm caught. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to take all of you with me. And here's the logic. There actually is a logic to this. The reason he killed the daughter is because her parents did not bribe him to put her in the top 5.
Yeah.
There were 5 other parents who sat around a table in a conference room with him and handed him money, and he agreed to that bribe. And that pushed the girl who killed herself, who got killed, to number 6. She would have been number 1.
Yeah.
And so, in that moment, in describing that, I just realized there's another really weird flaw in this movie. But when he is effectively outed, meaning that he knows that he ultimately will be, revealed as the bad guy. So he just jumps the gun. He's like, well, I'm not going to wait for that to happen. I'm just going to fucking out myself.
Yeah.
And since I'm doing that, I'm going to also take those 5 other sets of parents or mothers or whatever down with me.
It's like,
take them down with you by taking a hatchet to them.
Okay, but 2 things. That's quite a leap to say I've gone from killing this one girl as like a cover up because of how, deeply that would affect my life, blah, 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 to then I'm going to willingly take this auditorium full of 300 people. Right? And then the second thing too, like he's admitted he's the killer, the other killers, the parents say, admit what you've done. And as soon as that happens, nothing happens. He's already done what they say. Shouldn't like they be letting set free or whatever? Like, how come there's no, when he does exactly what the killers say,
right?
Why does nothing happen?
Because the killer needed him to have a flip out so he could come up behind him and stab him.
I don't know.
It's so stupid.
What was the other thing that you said? You said, oh, this just made me realize.
Oh, just the fuck up. Like I guess it's through the lens of the main character who believes that the girl who was killed committed suicide. So we actually see her memory of finding that girl who had taken a bunch of pills. But she hadn't taken a bunch of pills. That was a cover-up by the teacher.
Oh, wait, so the teacher covered up the murder by...
Apparently.
Oh, I thought it was just like they didn't know who killed her. But people thought it was a suicide?
They thought it was a suicide. So even in that, like, it was really, really not well put out for us to... So here's what I would have done, I guess, is I would have started the movie with a memorial like the one that it ends with, right? For the girl, so that we know a couple things, really important things. A girl died here. B, she died because of the stress of this school. And she killed herself because she couldn't hack it and she didn't get into the top 5. If we get all that information at the top and we see it through the eyes of the main girl, then we know she's got that information. So when new things come to light, she's the one with us, the audience, going, holy shit, hang on a second. Nothing is as it seems. And we can make connections through that. Like, she could be the one beating the drum saying, like, I don't think my friend was fucking killed herself because that's not what she would do.
Yeah.
And that's a very common thing for the
I know there's something more here. Yeah.
The loved ones of somebody who commits suicide.
Not quite right.
Saying this doesn't add up.
Right.
Is a compelling place to be. So that when shit starts to go down and like clues start to be revealed, then I'm on board when she goes, I'm sure this has to do with my friend who killed herself last year, and I don't think she killed herself. I think this is happening because something fucking else went on.
Then at least there's our clear thread of where we're like,
please.
There's our perspective, our jumping off point.
Yeah, and the things don't have to be ultimately happening to that character, but she has to be interfering or like getting close to fucking with the bigger master plan that's going on, so that then she does become a target of them because she's a wrench in their fucking plan.
And it'd be nice then if that happened, we would see that you could throw a wrench in the plan.
Yeah.
Because we had no idea like what the plan was. Like, how many of these games was there going to be? What happens if they keep deciding to split up like they do? Are they getting upset at that? Like, just so meandering and not. I don't know. Bleh. Well, all right, we said it. Do you have any other specifics?
No.
So loosey-goosey.
Oh, I mean, I guess we basically said it, but there's only so many times I can watch a group of people not do anything when there's like dire other shit going on.
Yeah.
Like, it just is really frustrating to watch.
Well,
it happened in Ready or Not.
Yeah.
It's the same, like, stop fucking having scenes of people just yelling at each other.
Right. We're in Ready or Not. I was like, this is supposed to be funny and extreme, and look at them.
Yeah.
And this was just kind of wasting time, which actually made me think too, I guess one last thing is, even though we kind of liked the individual deaths or set pieces or whatever, there are kind of not many of them. It like felt like for what this movie is, we would have at least had a kind of more consistent present, body count. There's kind of not a lot. Yeah. It's like as if they were trying to go to the direction as if this was a lot more sort of weighty, grounded horror film where you should only have so much and each one of those is a big deal. But the tone of this and like the music video style and all that made it seem like it should be a lot more slashery.
Right. Well, it also made me realize there is one thing we didn't mention that I liked, that you could have made more of a deal out of and it been more exciting, is that the killer is taking the top 5 people on the list in order. Yeah. And that's a big clue that they're like, oh shit, they're doing it in order.
That goes nowhere.
We know who's next, basically. Yeah. Doesn't go anywhere.
Right. I forgot about that.
But fucking use that.
That was cool. Again, it just completely fell off the map when you had some of them go, oh, we're just going to split up to go to the bathroom and then end up hiding. And just kind of any sort of setup with that was out the window.
But that stuff is that sort of lack of connectivity. The ideas are kind of there.
Yeah.
But they don't pull them together into something cohesive that like we enjoy.
Do you want to hear some other in summary reviews of that were not favorable for this one? I should have read these at the top. Hyun Kim of KoreanFilm.org was more critical of the film, saying, Death Bell annoyingly combines prettified, slick visual filmmaking, but with no real depth, and gag-inducing torture porn excesses. It's simultaneously tepid and lackluster on the one hand, and gross and offensive on the other. He also regarded the screenplay as a fetid mess with an unconvincing central premise, but gave credit to the performance of Leo Byung-soo, I think the main guy. Review for Twitch also labeled the film's premise as ridiculous, going on to say, Leo Byung-soo certainly tries and the tempo keeps building decently until the end, but there's really no vibe to it. It's just a succession of tortures and murders with no sense of surprise, no interest, and no thematic consciousness whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree.
No thematic consciousness whatsoever. Yeah, great. We agree with those. I don't know. It's just fun as in summary. Well, some good things too, Tim. Derek Ellie of Variety found Death Bell to have a neat concept with enough shocks and gore to keep genre addicts contented, and commented, after fairly conventional half-hour setup, the pick keeps the tension high with tight cutting and a no-flab script that ups the student's body count in some especially inventive ways. Solution to the whodunit is less convincing than the lead-up, with a finale that doesn't deliver on expectations, but the journey there is fine, with Lee better known for comedy, interestingly cast as the student's tough professor. I'm sorry, I kind of just rambled that out, but
I want to punch that person.
It's probably here, Variety.
Get over here, you Variety person. Let's have a conversation.
Anyways, just to get some other perspective.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some things of note, because I have nothing else bad to say.
All right, things of note.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
Is it noteworthy that which girl is it? Is it the main girl who's like the K-pop?
I think that's
big star.
Absolutely noteworthy. Nam Gu-ri, K-pop star. This is her.
Wait, that's
her,
the lead girl?
Yeah, her acting. I mean, one of the two. There's two lead girls.
The main girl. I can't navigate this right now. Okay, this girl. I need to see a picture of her because I don't have one. Let's see.
There's the short hair and the long hair one, and I think she's the long hair one.
Oh, so she's not the one that I really like. Like, I think the short hair girl is fucking really good.
She's the one who survives to the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this girl is the best friend of hers who gets hung upside down. Is that right? The one who's listening to the fucking iPod.
I believe so. So that was a K-pop star's acting debut. Absolutely noteworthy. Tim's favorite K-pop.
Dude, my only connection to K-pop is that music video I worked on that was just nuts.
You worked on a K-pop music video?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't even remember. They were super young. Well, they actually weren't young.
What were you doing on it?
I don't know. I was basically like a PA on it, but there was no crew. It was like, I was kind of like a first AD.
What were they doing?
It was random.
What were they
fuck.
doing? Like, what was the content?
It was 3 dudes who are supposed to be 14, and none of them are. They're all like 19, 22, and 26. There's a lot of lost in translation in like sort of the concept and what they understood of the concept. So unfortunately, I didn't work on the day that they were on a soundstage with giant like pencils and erasers and like crayons and shit. And like everything was so hypersexualized, but I don't think that they intended that to be the case. And then we did a shoot where it's like they're just in Hollywood, and they're like, we were on Venice Beach. So they're just like walking around on Venice Beach, like interacting with people. They rented bikes, and so they're biking around with each other. It was very strange and very sort of weird sexualized stuff.
Like, what were they doing that was sexual?
Like dancing up on each other and sort of like not in a dancey way,
and it was
in a sexual way.
Men playing boys.
Yes. And then like with the school supplies scene, like they're literally like taking the giant crayon and like putting it in their between their crotch and just like waving it around. And the director is like
here watching this.
The director's like, yeah, don't do that. And then their people, like the actual managers, were like, no, that's great. We love that.
And you're just sitting there going,
we're all just sitting there like, this is very uncomfortable. So then we did a bit where we're like on Hollywood Boulevard, like they're just dancing around. That was totally fine. Their outfits were hilarious and great, not in a bad way. But at one point they get like lollipops and they're just like licking, you know? And I was like, God, this is just so over the top, like sexualized. Or I'm like, is it me? And like everybody's looking at me going, no, it's not just you. And then they did a fucking scene when they're in I'm totally outing this video because obviously if you could just see the video, you would know which one it is with all these places. But they're in a hotel room, so they're in like their robes, and the three of them are on the bed, and they order room service, and room service was like sausages, and they're like putting the sausages into each other's mouths. I was like, this is on purpose. Well, and the managers are like, we pulled them aside, and we're like, you get that this is all like phallic stuff. You're like, are you sure that's what you want? They're like, yeah, like, don't worry. They won't, like, the audience will not take it that way. I'm like, yes, they will.
like, why are you doing it? Like, why not be explicit about it then?
Right. It was so fucking bizarre. They had like a pillow fight. They were like falling all over.
I really want to see this now.
I'm sure I can't remember the name of the group. I could find it though. It was an experience.
Good to hear about your exposure into the world of K-pop.
Yeah, it was wild. Anyway, how did we get on that? Oh yeah, because I'm a huge fan.
Because yeah,
clearly,
K-pop star Nam Gui-ri in her acting debut in Death Bell.
Yeah.
The only other thing of note, 2 years later, there was a sequel released.
No way.
Death Bell 2: Bloody Camp. And it said there's no like connectivity or anything, but it's like
it's probably better.
The reviews almost made it sound like it was worse.
Shit.
It's like camp set. That's kind of all that I took from it.
Oh man, I feel really bad for the other actress, the other teacher. Mm-hmm. Like, she is she has no character.
Yeah. She was good. She was like inherently endearing.
Give her give her a point of view. Give her shit to do.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
It kind of felt like she was going to be in it more than just like a lot of things in this film just didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's all I got.
All right. Well, how about we put a bow on Death Bell?
Cool.
And do our RecommenDEADtions
all right.
for this week.
You want me to go?
Do you want me to go?
Don't answer a question with another question.
Why?
I'll go. I've been watching, this is so dumb, but it tickles me. I've been watching that show Scare Tactics. Some of that shit is funny. Some of it is so bad. But dude, some of the things they do to people is really fucked up.
Yeah.
Dude, there is one where they, everybody knows the premise, right? It's like a friend sets up another friend, and then MTV and Tracy Morgan or whoever, I think MTV produced it.
Oh, right. This is the Tracy Morgan one. Yeah.
They set up a big elaborate thing to scare the friend, the target. So one of them is this. The girl has been hired to basically to just like break down boxes, like cardboard boxes in a warehouse. But the warehouse was a former like chemical plant.
Okay. And
so she's breaking down boxes with the person who works there all the time.
Why are you telling us all this?
Because it's so good. The person she's working with, who's obviously in on it, is quote unquote pregnant and goes over to a thing and she's like, hey, can you flip that light switch on? And she flips it and like a powder pops out of a machine in her face and she starts to be like, oh, I don't feel good. She goes into another room and there's like, they separate for a minute. And then when the target comes back in, the woman's pregnant belly has like expanded just enough for it to be like, that's crazy, but not over the top. And then she goes into a bathroom stall and they start dumping stuff out of the stall like it's coming out of her. Like first it's like milky fluid, then it's just blood. They pour so much blood onto the floor from behind this stall. The girl who's the target is just flipping the fuck out. It's so pleasing to watch somebody buy in and freak the fuck out.
I know. I love like a prankster in real life, but specifically I love that so much when you've gotten someone's brain to accept or better yet, be questioning the reality of like there's a literal monster or giant spider or whatever the heck you've set it up to be. Dude. Like for this moment, they believe in this goblin creature that this show is set up.
They take it one step further and have an actual little person dressed in a bodysuit fall out of the fucking stall like it's the baby, covered in fucking goopy blood. And the girl's face, it like breaks her in half. Because it's just like, they've set the premise that this chemical has made things grow.
Yeah. Do you think this should be like, where's the line drawn when it's like immoral or not?
I don't know.
Do this to people?
I don't know, because some of these people, I'm like, they should not have had to go through this experience.
I was asking that. I worked on one of these shows once.
Really?
As an editor. It was a Snapchat exclusive.
Oh, nice.
And I was asking myself that all along. Like,
oh man, I mean, some of them are awful, but some of them are really good.
But they're always made great with Tracy Morgan hyping it up.
His performance is really funny.
Okay. Well, mine really quick because I didn't have anything too recently I've watched. I just got to go to my old favorites. I'm surprised I haven't recommended it yet. One of my favorite films, 5-star films from 1993, I've mentioned it to you before, is Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Bros. And it's been excellent to see like on Twitter and that sphere that it's not just me and my like 3 other friends I can think of who love it. There's a lot more.
No, it's everybody born the same year as you.
Yeah.
And
not
that's
everybody, but no, I feel like it's in tradition. Historically, it feels like everyone born, the same year as me are like, no, it's stupid. Okay. That's always been it. But now people are just able to look at it completely outside from what a Super Mario Brothers movie should be.
Quote unquote.
And we're just, exactly. I think it's incredible. I rewatched it kind of recently and it's hilarious.
Who's the lead in that?
It's Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the kicker. It should get you. Dennis Hopper.
Oh, I know.
King Koopa. It's incredible.
That. Oh, my God.
But just the rapport.
Isn't there a woman in it?
Yeah, Samantha Mathis plays Princess Daisy.
Samantha Mathis.
I mean, I just know her from this, but she's in other 90s things. But they're John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins are great in it. And a little, no, whatever. I don't have to go on about it.
Yes, you do. Yes, you should.
Okay, a tidbit I learned about
boots.
it. What?
Jump boots.
The jump boots. What about them?
So dumb.
What? They're so cool.
No!
Yeah, you put in the little thing. It's like, it's great because it's like they're jetpacks, but you kind of have like a limited time on them. So it adds this interesting thing where like you can just hover so far. And like the shot where you have Big Bertha, the big woman, like with the boots, how she just looks like she's just like all that, when she's hovering over the streets. There's this one great shot of her doing that. But the thing I was going to say, my friend told me once, it's an anecdote, I forget where it was or how it came up, or a quote here, where Dennis Hopper, someone went up to him and like genuinely was like, oh, Super Mario Brothers is one of my favorite movies. And Dennis Hopper's response, I'm guessing, assuming he was being sarcastic or something, was like, hey, fuck you, man. Told this fan.
Oh my God. He's like a kindred spirit to me.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper. Maybe next time I'll recommend Dead, some Dennis Hopper movie. But
Man.
That's not Super Mario Brothers. I'll recommend Dead, another Dennis Hopper movie.
Maybe I'll try and watch it.
I don't know if I can recommend it so much for you, Tim.
I mean, I watched it whenever it came out.
It's just like
93, you said?
Yeah, it's so cool, like how it's clearly an influence from Blade Runner too, like this other world that it this like post-apocalyptic world it creates.
Oh yeah.
And just that it's all these practical, like the practical set is incredible. The Yoshi looks so cool, this little cute dinosaur. It's really really got to me this time. There's the Devo chamber, which evolves or de-evolves you. And just like the horror of being, that really got to me, of being turned into either like a lizard creature that all the dinosaur evolved, Dino Hat Knights evolved from, or to be turned into a chimpanzee, or even worse, being turned into like...
We know you love chimpanzees.
Yes, but it's the thought of being turned into one is terrifying, just to have your intellect sapped from you, but still be you. Something is really great about that idea. Then you have all these anti-corporate messages in it. Where you have the hippie guy they meet singing anti-Koopa songs gets put away in his cage. It's just a lot. It was a lot to chew on. I really liked.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. All right. Good. Great.
I went on just like you wanted.
I did. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, and we aren't doing a hat pull because we're doing... I'm not going to do the bell. That's only for new releases.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing Psycho 2 next week. And then after that, Psycho 3, then 4, and then the original we'll see what happens with. I'm very excited, Tim.
Me too.
These are good films.
Yeah.
Not to give our hopes up, but they'll certainly give us something.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think something that'll certainly give us a lot to chew on, which is my favorite thing to do here.
Looking forward to it.
In the meantime, well, happy October, and you can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
Also, at Dismembering Horror on Instagram, and at dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You should email us.
Please. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well then, in closing, everyone, thanks for listening.
We will see you next time. Goodbye.